Hi guys, welcome to Cooking with Tea. Today we're going to be making cornbread dressing. This recipe calls for 2 parts. The first part is going to be making the actual cornbread, which I have here because the recipe calls for day-old cornbread. The cornbread is a day old because we want to be able to incorporate all the flavors from the stuffing ingredients as well as the stock. The second part of this recipe is going to be building the stuffing part. And then we're gonna assemble it and then we're gonna bake it. The first step of making this cornbread is going to be to brown the butter because we don't want it to be too hot before we incorporate it into our batter. Now that our butter is brown and it smells amazing in here, we're gonna start to build our cornbread. So we're gonna go ahead and add our dry ingredients into the bowl, which is just the AP flour and the yellow cornmeal, baking powder, salt. Now we're gonna add the sugar. And then we're gonna build a well. And then we're gonna add 1 egg. And we're gonna add our cup of milk. So pretty much this well method is like mixing everything in the middle and gathering the dry ingredients around the ends to like slowly incorporate everything. The last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add and fold in our brown butter into the batter. So the oven is preheated at 400 degrees. Now I'm gonna go ahead and transfer the cornbread batter into the cast iron skillet. I like to use the cast iron skillet because it develops a crispy, crunchy texture on the outside. So the cornbread is going to go into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. Cornbread is in the oven. We're gonna start cutting the vegetables and assembling everything for the dressing. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take our leeks. We're gonna cut them in half, lengthwise. So, and then we're gonna slice them so they look like half moons. Now that our leek is cut, we're gonna cut our bell pepper. We're gonna just take this guy out right here. I like to use bell pepper in this. It's not really traditional. Usually people use celery, onions, garlic, and that's it. But I like bell pepper because it just reminds me of like Creole almost. And like when I cook, I like to do things the way I like to do them. And it also adds a nice color in there. It doesn't just look like green and white. So then we're just gonna take the red bell pepper and we're gonna slice it into strips like that. Then once we have our strips, we're gonna take them into manageable piles because we don't want you to cut your fingers off. We're gonna go ahead, after we chop everything up, we're going to start sauteing. Cornbread is done! So now that I'm sweating because I just took the cornbread out and that cast iron skillet was mad hot and mad heavy, we're gonna continue to cut our vegetables. We're gonna break down the day-old cornbread that we have here and we're gonna mix everything together, bake it, and then we're finally gonna get to eat it. Or I'm finally gonna get to eat it and you're just gonna watch. We want the garlic to be not too fine. We got our onions, we got our leeks, we got our red bell peppers, and we have our garlic chopped. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna saute all of these veggies together. So I'm gonna start with about 2 tablespoons of butter to cook our veggies and maybe 1 tablespoon of butter to cook our sage. Onions are going in right now. Leeks are going in. Leeks. Now that our butter is browning here, I'm gonna go ahead and just pop the sage in. So now that this is cooking down, it's becoming soft, and the onions are getting a little bit of caramelization, I'm gonna go ahead and add our bell peppers. See what I mean? Like, I added the bell peppers because it's beautiful. It's colorful, and bell peppers are amazing. So right now, all of our veggies are in. We have the bell peppers, the leeks, and the onions. They're getting soft and translucent. Once they're a little bit softer, we're gonna go ahead and add our garlic. I'm gonna go ahead and season our veggies with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and turn our heat all the way down. So now that the heat is all the way down, we're cooking the garlic. I'm gonna go ahead and sprig some thyme. Just destem it by pulling it down and sprinkling it inside. All right, guys, now that our vegetables are ready to go, our brown butter sage is ready, we're gonna take our day-old cornbread and we're gonna start to crumble it up into a bowl. We're gonna break our cornbread into small crumbs, maybe even half of that. Just our fingers like this. We're gonna go ahead and add our veggies inside. I'm gonna use this sage brown butter. I'm just gonna scrape it in there to get those flavors. So now I'm just gonna fold everything in. I'm just breaking the sage, the brown butter sage. I'm crushing it with my fingers. We're gonna go ahead and fold in our beaten eggs. So the vegetable stock is kind of to feel and to taste, depending on how moist you personally like your dressing or stuffing. The actual cornbread stuffing part, it's gonna feel really moist and really wet, but once we bake it, it's gonna dry everything out. So we have to keep that in mind when we're seasoning. I'm gonna be using a greased casserole dish. We're gonna go ahead and just transfer this into here. All right, guys, now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna bake this at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes or until crispy, but still moist. All right, guys, the cornbread dressing is ready. It's crispy on the top, it's moist in the center, and it's ready to eat. So to finish this, I'm gonna just chop some parsley. We're gonna rough chop it. We don't want it to be too fine. We have this great bite right here. It's crunchy, it's moist. There's peppers, there's parsley. The brown butter sage is really coming through. It just tastes amazing. I hope you guys really enjoy this recipe. Please like and subscribe. Leave any comments down below. Peace, love, and blessings. Fire.